need to keep in mind is method overloading and function overloading terms are interchangeably used, right? Method overloading, or we can say function overloading, is one of the common way to implement compile time polymorphism in C#. So big question arises, what is method overloading or function overloading in what language? C#. So either you call method overloading or you call what is a function overloading. The meaning is same only. There is no difference in these two names. Both are the synonyms to each other. So that's what we are saying. Method overloading is the common way to implement which polymorphism? Compile time polymorphism. It is the ability to redefine a method or function in more than one form, right? In more than one form. User can implement function overloading, or we can say method overloading, by defining two or more functions in a class, and those functions must have the same name with the different their signature. C# can distinguish the methods what available in a same class with a different with the same name by using their signature. Signature could be different set of parameters, different types of parameters, and different, what is it, order of the parameters. This is what we have learned at the time of constructor overloading also. Hope everybody knows that. Hope everybody knows that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's all right. Clear the point?
Yes.
Anybody else, why do we need method overloading? Then you can answer a very simple way. If we need to do some kind of operation in different ways, that is for different inputs, for different, what is it, inputs. Suppose you want to sum up, we want to do the sum of numbers. So maybe two numbers you want to sum, maybe three number you want to sum, maybe different types of number you want to sum, right or not? But ultimately you want to do the sum only, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. In that scenario, you need, what is it? In that scenario, you need, what is it? Method overload. You need, what is it? Method overload. Right. So let's see in a detail about method overload, or nothing but function overload. If we are defining multiple methods, if we are defining multiple methods with the same name, if we are defining multiple methods with the same name but with a different signature in a, what is it, class, or in the, what is it, parent and child class, right? Then it is called method overloading or function overloading in language called C#. So if we are defining multiple method, means more than one method with the same name but with a different signature in a class, or we can say in the parent class, or we can say in the child class, especially if you are working with the inheritance concept, then we'll get the concept of parent class and what is it? Child class. Then it is called what is it? Method overloading, or we can say function overloading in C#. All right. So interviewer asks question, hey, to whom we call method overloading? You must say, sir, if we create more than one method with the same name but with a different signature in a class, it is called method overloading. Means overloading the same method with a different signature. Right. Why it is required? Sir, if you wanted to perform some operation on different input, then we have to go for method overloading. Sir, whenever we want to perform operations on a different input, maybe different type of input, different number of right item input, right, on different order of the input, then we need to go for what? Method overloading. Next, that means C# allows us to create a method in the derived class with the same name as the method name defined in the what is it? Base class. So suppose we are working with the inheritance. Base class is nothing but parent class. In there I have one method, and I'm going to make class to be derived from the what? Base class. So whenever one class derive means inherited from the base class, from the parent class. So parent class method automatic available to what is it? Derived class. If their scope is available with the public or protected or internal except a private, right or not? And
Yes,
what
sir.
method is available into the derived class, the child class, which is coming from parent class. Apart from that, you can create one more method, two more method with the same name, what available into base class. It is possible to create, but while creating must have the different signature. And if you do this one, then become method overloading, right or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You might be not working with the parent and child class, means not working with inheritance. I have only one class. So that class only the one class. In the class also we can have more than one method with the same name, but must have the different signature.
Yes.
That is what called as a method overloading. Below, in simple words, we can say that the method overloading in what is it? C# allows a class to have what is it? Multiple methods, to have what is it? Multiple methods with the same name, but with a different signature. What is it? Signature, right? In simple words, we can say that the method overloading in C# allows a class to have multiple methods with the same name but with a different signature, right? The method are the functions, right? The functions, or we can say, what is it, methods, can be overloaded based on, can you guess, number of parameters, or we can say type of parameters, or we can say order, right?
Yes, sir.
Number of parameters, type of parameters, right? Or what is it, order of, what is it, parameters. One more things, number of parameter, type of parameters. Type means what? Maybe integer type, maybe float type, maybe double type, right, etc. Right. Order of parameters, and also kind of parameters. Kind means what? Call by value parameters, call by reference parameter, call by out parameters, all we have discussed, right or not? So kind means what? Value parameters, ref parameters, or what is it? Out parameters, right, of parameters. Using this, going to be differentiate the signature, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So maybe one method with the one parameters, another method with the same name but two parameters, another method with the same name, maybe your three parameters. So this becomes the method overloading or not? If I have a method with the same name that takes one parameter, one more method with the same name, two parameter, one more method with the same name, three parameters, is become overloader. So for the same method, in that case, how many overload? Three overloader. Tomorrow can be 4 overloader, 5 overload, 10 overload, right or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. Perfect. So the signature of a method consists of the name of the methods and the what? Data type, number, order, and kind of parameters, right? So what we can say? The signature of a method consists of the name of the method, and the what is it, number, comma, type, comma, order, comma, and kind of parameters. Cleared?
Yes, sir.
So any signature of the method in the method overloading consists of, is made up of name of the method and the what? Number of parameters, type of parameters, order of parameters, and kind of parameters. With these all become the what? Signature of the method overload, right or not?
Yes, sir.
One more point you need to understand. Note point. Very, very important. The point that you need to keep in your mind, is that the signature of a method, what is it, method, does not include the what is it, return type of method. Signature of the method does not include the what? Return type. You might have more than one method with the same return type, no matter. Different return type, no matters. So signature not looking for return type, signature looking for number of parameters, type of parameters, right? Order of parameters, kind of parameters. Got my point? Does not look for what? Return type of the method, what it is. So does not include the return type and the params modifier. Params, what is that? Modifiers. Params, what is that? Modifier. Right. So it is not possible. It is not possible to overload a method. Overload a method just based on the return type, based on the return type and params modifier. So method overload, right, cannot be based on the return type, cannot based upon the what? Return type and params modifier. Then based upon what? Based upon the number of parameters, type of parameter, kind of parameter, order of parameter, right or not? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now next point in this, try to understand. We can compare the method overloading we can compare the method overloading, or we can say function overloading, with a person overloading. Example I'm saying, for example, if a person has already some work to do, if any person like me, the person, like you, the person, has already some work to do, and if you're assigning some additional work to do, then the person's works will be overloaded. Like suppose I'm saying you are going to the market to bring the vegetable, right? So what is your work? As a person, your work is go to market to bring the vegetable, right?
Yes, sir.
So you supposed to do one work. What work? To do the work. Which work? Get the vegetable from market, right? So getting the vegetable from market is one work. But at the same time, I'm saying that, hey, while going to market to get the vegetable, you also do one work only. That is what? Bring this medicine. Got my point on that?
Yes, sir.
So you are doing the work. How many work? 2 work, right?
Yes.
So person has overloaded work or not? One work is what?
Yes.
Getting vegetable. One work is what is it? Getting the medicine. With the 2 different input, right? Here input is what? Vegetable. Other input is what is it? Get the medicine, right? But both are doing the what? Work only, right or not? So we can compare the method overloading, or we can say function overloading, right? With a what is it? Person, with a what is it? Person's work overloading, right? For example, if a person has already some work to do, and if we are assigning some additional work to that person, then person's work will be come on, overloaded, will be
Overloaded.
overloaded. In the same way, a function or what is it, method, a method will have already some work to do, what is it, do. And if we are assigning some additional work, to that function, what is it, function, then we can say that the function is, or that the method is, what is it, overloaded. Clear the point, sir? Very clear, very much clear. I'm sure about that, right?
Yes, sir.
It's very clear. I'm sure about that. Yes. When should we overload methods in C#? Very simple example, right or not? When should we overload methods in, what is it, C#? If you want to execute, the same logic, but with the different types, and number of, arguments, different number of arguments, then you need to overload the methods, for example, if you want to add two integers, add two integers, two floats, and two strings, strings, then you need to define how many methods? Define in general three methods with the what name? Same name, right, as shown below. So come to your program, your code part, right? In the class program only, I have main method, above to main method or below to main method. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to have one method, static void add up to integer int x, comma int, what is it, y. this is going to add these two numbers. So I'm writing int result equals to x plus what is it, y, right?
Yes, sir.
X plus what is it,
Why?
y, and writing console dot right line of what is it, result. So result of these two number. Below I have similar method here. This is also for what is it, add only. This is also for what, add, but not to integer,
Add
to float, to what is it, to what is it, float. Here float result equals to x plus y, and write on console result. Below I have one more for add only, but not adding to integer to float, to string x, string y, and here is string result equals to x plus y, and this one. So we wanted to do what operation, add, but one add for what, two numbers, one add for two float, one add for two string. I'm going to market, do some work. What work? Purchasing, buying vegetable also, and buying what, medicine also. So how many work came? Two work, but actually work only, but overload with how many? Two, right or not?
Yes.
So I'm doing work only, but work with overloaded. How many overloaded? Two overloaded, right?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm coming to main method. In main method, I'm calling what method? Add method. Passing two inputs. See, here showing how many overload? One of, showing how many intelligence? One of. So method is only one right now, right? Because method is available with the same name, add. So one method add, and available with how many overload?
So
Overload. So person going to do the going market, do the work, but the work is overloaded with the two overload. One is what, purchasing vegetable, purchasing what is a medicine also, right or not?
Yes.
Right. So one of three. In this I want, one is what, integer 25 comma 75, right? One more add, here requirement of 25.55 comma 75 point what is it, 55 float. So for float, what is the postfix? F, and here what, F, right or not?
Yes.
Otherwise by default consider as a double. Next, add only, add with what is it, string. Here what is it, C#, right? And here what is it, language. All right. C#, what is it, one, and second parameter language in this C# language.
Yes.
Done this. This is an example of method overload. So here overload with how many input? Two input. Here also two input. Here also two input. But these two inputs for each method available the different types. So here differentiating by your types. If not type differentiate, then what? Maybe order, maybe what, kind. But if you give two input, integer, for second method also same, for third method same, integer, then not method overload, right or not? For example,
Yes.
if I create here below one more method with the same, here I'm giving int a, int b, here a plus b, right? See, this is the error coming for this method, saying that the program class already defines a number called add with the same parameter types, right or not? We are matching number of parameters also different types, parameter types also same. It's not method overload, right or not?
Yes, sir.
So one person going to market, right? One person going to market, and one person said that, hey, bring the vegetable from market. Okay. Meanwhile, your uncle saying that, hey, bring the vegetable from market. If both people saying that bring the vegetable from market, so for the person, the work is only one or work is overloaded?
Only one.
Only one, right or not?
Yes, sir.
That's what. Here also adding two numbers of integer, so no meaning of overload, right? So this cannot be applied. Clear the point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now run the program and see the output. Now run the program and see the output, whether really working or giving some error. Any error will come? No,
No.
because all are right. Because all are right. See this. First, adding up two numbers. Second, adding up two float numbers. And third, adding up two, what is it?
String.
String. Right?
Yes, sir.
All right. This code we can keep over here. Output. Run and see the output. Yes, this is the output. Next, there is another query, another question. What are the advantages of using method overloading in C#? Or what are the disadvantages if we define methods with what? Different name, not with the same name. Observe, if we overload the methods, then the user of our application, is the people, the programmer who are going to do that. If we overload the methods, then the user of our application gets a comfort feeling in using the method with an impression that he or she, nothing but that he or she is a programmer calling one method by passing different types of value. The best example for us is the predefined method. The name is what? Write line method. So how you writing? Console.write line. So using write line method, we can write what? You can write what? You can see that comes with a number of overload. Right. Write line is a one method. And we are writing right now what? One value of the what type? Is string type. But we can also write some other value which is belong to other type. And this method comes with how many overload? This plus 17 overload. Total 18 overload. Right or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right or not? So it is
Yes,
an
sir.
overload method. Write line is an what? Write line is a overload method, is not a single method taking different types of value. So here you can see is going to write in the new line different value. 1 of 18 overload, write line, nothing available. So write the current line terminator, right? Just new line terminator write to the output string. Second, write line of which value? Boolean value. Next, char value. Next, array of char value. Next, decimal value, double value, float value, int value, long value, object value, string value, uint value, ulong value, string format, and then what? Object arguments, string format, params, right? Here, char buffer, int index, int count, string format, object arguments 1, object arguments 2, right? Like this available, these many overload option, right? So it's writing the different types of value, right or not? And for that, having the different Nothing but what?
Yes, sir.
Method overload. Clear the point?
Yes, sir.
So this predefined right line method is what? Overload method. Next, when is a method considered an overload in C#? People ask the query, when is a method considered an overload method in C#? So if two methods, whenever we create the methods, more than one. If we create more than one method, example 2 method, 3 method, have the same method name but different signature, then those methods are considered, or those methods are well known as overloaded methods. So people say, when method considered an overload methods, say, sir, whenever in C# class, if we create more than one method, example 2 method, 3 method, right, with the same name but with a different signature, then those considered as method overloaded. Then the rule we should check is, those all methods must have either different types of parameters, either different number of parameters, either different order of the parameters, either different kind of parameters. If yes, then method overload. If these all not matching, there is not method overload. In our example, we have more than one method into program class. There is 3 methods with the same name, add, add, add. But what we are going to check, in first add method, how many parameters? 2. Second also 2. Third also 2. If number of parameter matched, then check for type of parameters. Then check for type of parameters. Right? First one type is what? Integer, integer. Second one, not integer, integer, float, float, overload. Third one, not integer, integer, not float, float. Other one is string, string. This also what is that? Overload. Right or not?
Yes, sir.
But method overload, right, must have different signature. And in the signature, not going to consider, not going to have a rule for return type of the method. Maybe more than one method returning what? Same type. Right now all 3 method return type is what? Wired, wired, wired. So method signature in overload, not considering what is it? Return type. Not considering what is it? Return type. Right or not? Not going to consider, what is it? Any params modifier. Right?
Yes, sir.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. Can we overload methods in the same class? And one more point, method signature also not going to consider about the what? Accessibility level. Maybe one is with public, one is what? With a non-public. Example, I have this one method. I'm creating one more method below, right, with what is it? Public. Is still method signature, right, not looking with what? Access modifier. In first one, no public, so it is a private by default. Second one is a public. No, with that not matters. No matter with what? This private, public. No matter with this return type. Only matters with what? Number of parameters, type of parameters, order of parameters, and the kind of parameters. Right or not?
Yes, sir.
That's what saying that this is already defined with the same parameter types. So method signature not include return type, not include method accessibility label. Right or not?
Blue color का अच्छा है.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Can we overload methods in the same class? Yes, right now in the same class. Na? What is my class there? Program class. In the program class only we are overloading our add method. So anybody say, can we overload methods in the same class? Answer is yes, it is possible. No compile time error and no runtime error. Methods can be overloaded in the same or in the super class. Super class means parent class, base class, and subclasses, nothing but what? Child class,
Child class.
derived class. Because overloaded methods are different methods, but we can't override a method in the same class. In the same class, it leads to compile time error. Method is already defined because overriding methods are the same methods without different implementation. So we have not discussed yet about method overriding. That we'll see later. So for time being, anybody asks, can we override methods in the same class? Answer is yes. Right now, I have the program class. In the class, I have method add, and I have overloaded with how many methods? 3 methods. I have overloaded add method with how many methods? 3 methods. And in these cases, signature must be different. Yes. What signature? Different, right? Types of parameters, different, what is it? Number of parameters, and what is it? Nothing but different order of parameters and different kind of parameters, maybe value parameters, maybe rep parameters, maybe out parameters, right? But signature not include, what is it? Return type, and not include their what? Accessibility level like public, private, protected, internal, anything, right or not? Got my point?
Yes, sir.
All right. Everybody understood?
Yes, sir.
But method overriding in same class not possible. Method overriding in one class not possible. We can't override a method in the same class. It leads to compile time error saying that method is already defined. Because overriding methods are the same methods with the what? Different implementation. Got my point? So overriding is what? You have written something and on that you are overriding some other content, right or not? So method overriding means it is same method but with what? Different implementation, right? So method overriding is not possible in same class. It is possible if you have one class A and you are deriving the class B from the A. You are having one class A and below you are going to have one class B to be derived from the class A, or we can say class B inheriting from the class A, and in class A I have one method, and that method I want to override into derived class with the different implementation. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Their concept come of the what? Method overriding. So method overriding within the same class? No. When we require method overriding, when we are working with the nothing but inheritance, like one class inheriting from other class. In other class, what we have method that required to be override into the derived class with a different implementation as per need, right or not? If you don't want different implementation, then do not override. Use as it is what there into the parent class, use into derived class as it is. But sometime requirement come, the parent class method to be used in derived class with the different implementation, then must need what is that method? Override. Yes or no?
Yes.
So can we overload methods in the same class? Method overloading in same class is possible, right? Not at all any compile time error or runtime error. But overriding of method in the same class, it is going to create the compile time error saying that this method already defined into the same class. So you cannot again override, right or not?
Yes, sir.
Overriding when required. If I have a parent class, in that I have method, I will come into child class. I want in the child class, parent class method, right, to be used with a different implementation, then required method overriding. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. People say, hey, what is the execution control flow of overload methods? What is the execution control flow of overload methods based upon this example, right or not?
Yes,
Or
sir.
any other example? Observe here. Observe here. the compiler always checks for the called methods. So in main method, compiler checking for called method. Right now, what calling method? Add method. Right or not?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the compiler always check for the called method definition in the right reference variable type class with the given argument type parameters. So here I'm calling what method first? Add method. No? Here I'm calling, what is it? Add method, and passed two parameters, right? Here passed what is it? Two parameters, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So first number of parameters, then second check for what type of the parameter, right? Right. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then maybe order of the parameters, and finally maybe what kind of parameters.
Yes.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
Correct. So here first method, two parameters, yes, available. Then checking for type is what? Your argument value pass 25 is integer, na? 75 is integer. So looking for one method which is should be available with what? Integer. Yes, that takes it. That takes it, right or not?
Yes.
So this concept cleared?
Yes.
And suppose if you are working with the inheritance concept, suppose I have one class A, and in class A I have one method with the name of add of two numbers, integer numbers. And I also have one more method, add of two numbers of the float type. With the accessibility level may be protected or public. Now I'm going to create second class, class B, and class B derived from the class A. So all the method of the class A, which is available with the public or protected or internal except a private, automatic available to class B or not? If I have a class A with the two methods and the accessibility level is what? Anything except a private, then automatic available to derived class also, and available to out of the class also, which we have discussed earlier: private, public, protected, internal, right?
Yes.
So I have one class A. In class A I have two methods, suppose available with the public. Now creating class B, and class B inheriting from the class A, then automatic those two methods of class A available into the class B or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, available. And in class B required one more overload apart from those two what coming from the class A. Can we do that? Answer is yes. Answer is what? Yes. So two method coming from the class A and one more overload I want for the same method that I'm doing into derived class, into child class. So total how many overload for the child class object? Total how many overload of that method of the child class object? Come on.
3.
3. Yes, absolutely true. 3. Total how many overload method for the parent
Three.
class object? No, listen question. Total how many overload method for the parent class object? 2. Yes or no?
2.
And in derived class I've done one more overload. So total how many overload method in the derived class object? That's what? 3. Right or not? Yes. So method overload possible into same class, possible into parent class, possible into a child class, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. But method overriding not possible in same class. Method overriding only possible in case if the child class deriving from the parent class, and what parent class method available, that method you are going to use in child class, and maybe some circumstances occur to use in child class with a different implementation, then you must go for which concept? Must go into for which concept? Come on. Method overriding concept. Very simple. Yeah, I'm explaining number of times, but still you will look like a blank, like a nursery school student. Method overloading is possible into same class, possible into parent class, possible child class. But method overriding in same class not possible. Method overriding means you are overriding to any other methods. So where it is possible, if I have a class parent, if I have a class child, in parent class I have some method. When I'm going to have child class, which is the child class of the parent class. So parent class method as per their accessibility level automatically available into the parent class, into the child class, right? So in child class, we are getting the method of the parent class. If the method is not private into parent class, right? But circumstance occur in child class, we use the method of parent class with a different implementation, then required to override or not.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So method overriding is possible if you are working with the parent class and child class.
Yes,
Method
sir.
overloading we may use while working with the same class or while working the parent child class also.
Correct, sir.
To overload a parent class method, if you want to overload a parent class method in its child class does not require any permission from the parent class. Got my point? If you
Okay.
are going, if you are if you want to overload, parent class method in its child class does not require any permission from its what class? From its what class?
From
Parent.
parent.
Yes. This is all about method
Para. Overloading.
right or not?
Yes, sir.
Clear the point?
Yes, sir.
And method overloading is same as constructor overloading, or we can say constructor overloading is same as method overloading. While working with the more than one parameterized constructor in any Caesar class, we need to work with the what? Overloading of constructor. And that also differentiate with the signature of constructor, and signature of constructor what include number of parameters, type of parameters, order of parameters. Got my point or not?
Okay.
They are not use any kind of parameters like call by value or call by reference. Call by value, call by reference, out parameters used while working with the method overloading, right or not?
Yes.
This is completed, boss. Hope the concept clear and you can answer easily with this example to the interviewer, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So now one more example of the compile time polymorphism in C# is operator overloading. Yes or no?
Yes.
Operator overloading that we are going to conclude into tomorrow's session. So it will be completed. And after that, I'll be teaching you abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance. And after teaching inheritance, again I'll come back to polymorphism to teach you what is that method overriding example, which is an example of runtime polymorphism, nothing but dynamic polymorphism, nothing but let binding is nothing but it is known at what time? Runtime. It is called as a runtime polymorphism, right or not?
Yes, sir.
Then after that, I'll discuss nested class, partial class, and a partial method, and an extension method, static method, right? Virtual
Yes,
method, right? These all we are going to discuss that.
Okay, sir.
Right now,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
any queries?
Oh, sir.
No.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.